we are learning more about the tense relationship between the president and his now fired FBI director from people inside James Comey's camp.
This is as we said, candidates for Comey's replacement are showing up at the Justice Department for interviews today. And ABC's senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas is on that part of the story.
ABC News has learned sources in former FBI Director James Comey's circle say in that dinner meeting a week after the inauguration, President Trump asked Comey more than once whether he would be loyal. Comey would only promise to be honest, but President Trump flatly denied that ever happened.
Did you ask that question?
No, I didn't. But I don't think it would be a bad question to ask. I think loyalty to the country, loyalty to the United States is important.
The two men also apparently disagree over whether Comey tells the president he was not under investigation, as Trump asserted in that letter firing Comey.
I know that I'm not under investigation, me personally. I'm not talking about campaigns. I'm not talking about anything else. I'm not under investigation.
And they can't even agree over who asked who to dinner. Trump in a recent TV interview said, "I think he asked." Comey's friends and associates remember otherwise.
He mentioned that he had been invited to the White House to have dinner with the president, and that he was uneasy with that.
Trump says Comey was fired because he was not competent, calling him names like showboater in the process. All this galvanizing many in the FBI rank and file who believe Comey has been treated shabbily.
Is it accurate that the rank and file no longer supported Director Comey?
No, sir. That is not accurate.
As for a replacement, sources say the search for a new permanent FBI director begins today. Among those expected to be interviewed include Senator John Cornyn and 3 other candidates. This is the first round. More candidates are expected. A critical choice at a critical time. With the naming of the leader of the nation's premier law enforcement agency, the decision at hand. For Good Morning America, Pierre Thomas, ABC News, Washington.
Pierre, thank you. Let's bring in ABC News Supreme Court contributor Kate Shaw, who's an associate law professor at Cardozo Law School, also a former lawyer for the Obama White House. Kate, good morning.
Good morning, Dan.
So could firing the FBI director be a case for obstruction of justice?
Probably not standing alone, but we're beginning to see a lot of different pieces of evidence. So we have the president saying that it sounds like he asked on 3 different occasions whether he himself was the subject of an investigation. You have the firing, which again, the president himself tied to the Russia investigation. You have this tweet, which could be construed as at least sending a message to former Director Comey to be careful about what he says. So I think when you have all of this kind of coming together, it's not inconceivable that these could sort of form the foundation of an obstruction of justice inquiry, depending on what comes next. It feels like we're still early in this saga.
Let's talk about that tweet. Trump says that Comey better hopes that there aren't tapes of Comey. Could that, A, be perceived as a threat? And is taping even legal?
I think some people are construing it as a threat. And again, I think that standing alone, probably not, but in the context of everything else we've seen in the last week, potentially so. In terms of the taping itself, it turns out that the rules on this are different in different places. D.C. is what's called a one-party jurisdiction. So as long as one party to a conversation knows that it's being recorded, it's actually not illegal to record the conversation. So recording itself isn't the problem, if in fact it happened. We obviously don't know for sure. But you could have on the tapes evidence of wrongdoing. Destruction of the tapes, if something like that ever happened, could itself be illegal, potentially criminal. So there are a whole bunch of legal questions that this potential taping then opens up.
Yeah, having tapes opens up a whole can of worms. Yeah. So let me just ask you quickly about, there's this fantasy among diehard liberals right now that this could be the beginning of what leads to impeachment. Is that even in the realm of possibility?
In the realm of possibility, I would say yes. Again, not just these facts, but once you start to pull on the strings of something like this, you don't necessarily know what you're going to find. So one of the articles of impeachment against President Nixon involved obstruction of justice. One of the articles of impeachment against President Clinton was also involved obstruction. So it's certainly possible down the road. That said, it's much less likely when you have both parties of Congress controlled by Republicans.
Vote's not there.
In something in 2018, if one or both parties, one or both houses flips, and I think things start to look quite different.
Kate, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for your analysis,
Thank you. My
Kate.
pleasure.
Appreciate it.